So you know the last panel was really good because everybody followed them outside. So hopefully we'll be able to re-engage some of them as my talk progresses. But my name is Sanjeev Sharma. I actually have a very interesting relationship with Delphix. I used to work at IBM where I was a Delphix partner. Then I actually worked for Delphix for a couple of years back in 2018. Then I went to Truist Bank and I became a Delphix customer. And now I'm at Dell, where I'm back to becoming a Delphix partner. So I've kind of not left the Delphix orbit for a very long time. But going back to my topic, I think we're going to switch tracks here, right? This whole morning and the afternoon till now, we've been talking about data, right? Which is obviously, it's a data company. But how do you actualize the data, right? Nobody goes into a database and looks at data, right? I mean, if you pick up your phone and you've got all that data on your phone, all that data has been exposed to you as a user, whether it is an enterprise application at where you work or whether it is a personal application. I was just trying to check into my United flight for tomorrow. It is all being exposed by an application. And that application was written by and is managed by developers, right? So we're going to switch tracks and talk about how do developers expose that data, whether it is a developer who's developing a traditional application or in today's world, a developer who is actually a data scientist or an AI developer and building an AI or machine learning centric application. The boundaries between them are growing a lot, right? Every application has some kind of AI built into it. So my background has been in the software development and DevOps space, wrote a couple of books on DevOps. And now I've been specializing in building developer platforms. This is the second company I'm working at now that I'm at Dell. I just started at Dell 7 months ago, actually, and my job, my team's role, is to build the internal developer platform for Dell's ISG group, which is our infrastructure solutions group, right? So this is servers, storage, networking, edge computing, telco, all the enterprise stuff that is running in your data centers. Is this area I'm responsible for the developer platform. We have around 14,000 developers. So whether you're running it on-prem in your data center or whether you're running virtual appliances in the cloud, which come from Dell, my team is responsible for serving all the developers who develop and manage those software. We are also a hardware company, so the spectrum of what these developers develop is pretty vast, all the way from firmware, which is running embedded in the boards, all the way to Apex, which is a SaaS subscription platform by which you can subscribe to Dell infrastructure and manage it via our portal. So that's the audience which my team serves, around 14,000 developers spread globally, and we are building a centralized developer platform for them. So as I said, I joined Dell 7 months ago, and the mission of my organization, which was already in place, my predecessor had started that 2 years ago, so the team had already been there for 2 years. The mission was very simple. We have these 14,000 developers. How do we improve their developer experience and their productivity, right, while developing them into a world-class software organization? When everybody thinks of Dell, you think hardware. But hardware is the vehicle on which the software runs. It is a software that truly differentiates it, that truly actuates it, right? We want to become more software-centric. So my organization's job is to transform these developers and engineers into becoming a true world-class software shop. So that's what we are working on, and I came in and decided that, okay, we need to change our focus and build truly a platform. Everybody says they're building a platform, but what does a platform mean? My favorite definition of platform comes from Matt Skelton. He's the co-author of the book Team Topologies. Highly recommend this book. If you have developers, if you're trying to reorganize your organization into becoming more effective, more efficient, more productive, I highly recommend you grab hold of this book or at least get folks on your team to read it, right? And Matt Skelton's definition of a platform is that it is what provides a curated experience for engineers to accelerate delivery of the teams that use it, right? So let's kind of parse that, right? So platform, well, that means it should be centralized, right? It's one place where developers can go and they get a common experience. Now, how many of you have been to AWS's portal, right? Or eBay's portal, right? eBay was used as an example previously, right? Well, that's a platform. I go to eBay and know what to expect. I can sell something or I can buy something. right? It's a curated set of use cases. You can't just do anything on eBay, right? I can only buy what they allow me to buy. I can only sell what they allow me to sell. I can't buy a dog on eBay, for example, despite my daughter trying to convince me to get one. It is curated set of use cases. But the goal of that platform has to accelerate the delivery, right? That means they need to go faster, better, cheaper, of course, in a secure and compliant manner. So if you look at, double-click on that, right? In the team topologies book, they talk about there being 4 kinds of teams. There are stream-aligned teams, which in the past have been known as squads or scrum teams, right? They call them stream-aligned teams. They own a functionality, a story. They're responsible for that. They're enabling teams, which teach them how to be better. We'll come to that soon, because I'm responsible for enabling teams in my organization. There are complicated subsystem teams. We'll talk about that also, because it is a curated set of use cases which the platform delivers. What if your developers need something which is not one of those curated use cases, but it's needed? It's an outlier. It's either a one of a kind or a first of a kind. Then you need what is there is called as a complicated subsystem team. And then there is the platform team, which is delivering this curated platform. My team is the curated platform. When I joined Dell and I inherited this team, it was actually functionally siloed. There were 3 silos in that team. There was the infrastructure team, which ran 288 R&D labs. That's what we do. All the developers use these labs. There are 288 labs spread all over the world, from Australia to California. And some of them are a small closet where somebody's got a bench and they're doing some hardware testing or testing some customer software, all the way to 400,000 square foot data center where we do large scale testing, right? We'll take 1,000 servers and throw SAP on it and test how it works under load. Then there was the DevOps team. Now, I wrote a book on DevOps. One of the theses of the book was that if you have a DevOps team, you're DevOpsing wrong. Because DevOps is what everybody does. The DevOps team should be an enabling team, not a team that does DevOps for you. So I'm like, problem, error, file not found. So we reorganized the team based on the thesis, which was, again, coming from the team topologies book, which says that your platform team should be organized around how your users consume your services. Our users consume our services 3 ways. In the middle is the developer platform services team, right? What you see here. This is low touch, as a service, self-service. Everything is via the UI or API, right? If you go back to the previous slide, which I won't in interest of time, that is the actual platform team. These are curated, well-defined use cases. Everything a developer needs, from requirements management to source code management to build management to deployment to testing to provisioning in production, it is available as a service. These are well-known, curated use cases. To the left of it is the technical engineering services team. This is the one-of-a-kind or a first-of-a-kind team, right? We're building something new, like we have a telco group. They're building something new, never been built before, first-of-a-kind, right? They go and gather requirements and custom build a solution for them. On the far right is the transformational services team. This is the enabling team from the team topologies book. This is the team where all my DevOps folks are today, but that we've repurposed them from being DevOps engineers who actually do DevOps and touch keyboards and code to people who enable DevOps. They're DevOps coaches, they're agile coaches, they're SDLC coaches. They will go in, engage with the product team, show them how to do things better, how to adopt. We are a Scrum at Scale shop, so we use Scrum at Scale. How do you adopt Scrum at Scale? How do you build a CI/CD pipeline which can be reused over and over again? How do you provision and deprovision environments to reduce your user footprint? And then they disengage after they've taught them what to do, remain in a consulting role, and move on to the next team. So this is how we've used the team topologies model to totally organize the 1,000 people which are in my organization. On the left, you also see these vertical pillars. There are 2 guilds there. Guilds, I mean, these are not real teams. They're matrixed virtual teams. There's an architecture team, guild, whose job is to provide architectural oversight and governance, so we don't build things which will be fragile later on. And they're future-proof, right? We look at roadmaps of the products and say, oh, wait a minute, later on we'll need this, right? So we need to make sure we architect something today so that we can support it later on, right? We're becoming more and more multi-cloud, right? Do we need to support other clouds than the 3 major vendors? Oh yeah, we need to support Alibaba because we have customers in China. Great. how can we make our architecture so that we can support Alibaba as a public cloud? Same way we have a security guild, which makes sure everything we do is secure and compliant. At the end of the day, our products run in your data centers. We need to make sure they're secure. We don't want to be the vector into your data center. So making sure every line of code is validated and scrubbed and checked over and over again before we ship a product to the customer, you all, is very important. The core platform underneath is our plumbing, right? It's very interesting that today morning, the Microsoft, the gentleman talked about Microsoft, they're being disciplined at the core and flexible at the edges. We do the same thing through our product line engagement team. Their job is to work with our various product lines and figure out what is the variance across all of them and how can we make them more flexible and build custom solutions for them. So there's a role for everything. It was good to see the parallels between what Microsoft was talking about for a data lens and what we talk about from a software development lens. So let's jump into the platform, right? How did we end up building a platform? This is actually the second time I'm building a platform like this, so I can tell you that this model is proven. As I said before this, I was at Twist Bank, and we worked on building a platform there. At the end of the day, the platform has multiple layers, right? There is the environment layer, right, which is all your infrastructure. Whether it is on-prem or in the cloud, it is your compute, storage, and network. There is the application delivery pipelines, all the tools your developers need from end to end, right? From, as I said, from requirements management to source code management to monitoring and doing observability in production. And of course, on top, you also need a data pipeline. At the end of the day, what's an application without data, right? Like Bernard was saying, the startups don't have the data, right? You need to be actually able to access the data. And of course, you have to do it in a secure and compliant manner. So if this is a 3-layer chocolate cake, right, security and compliance is the frosting on top of it, and the UI and the user experience is those chocolate dollops on top, which, for whatever reason, my daughter refuses to eat. She likes the chocolate cake without the frosting. So I know this is an eye chart, but this is all the components. This is the architectural component diagram of what a platform looks like. These are all the things that need to go into a complete internal developer platform. Well, even if you're building an external developer platform, this would be all what you'll need, right? For environments, you need provisioning, orchestration, AI, observability. How do you do a container pipeline versus a VM pipeline? If you have mainframes, how do you handle pipelines for your mainframe so that it can be built and managed all via APIs? How do you make it reliable? How do you manage cost, right? FinOps has become a large component of managing your platform, your environment, because the cost of doing it wrong is extremely high. We've all heard horror stories of people moving to the cloud and then blowing out their annual budget before the month of March is over, right? And that happens if you don't have proper FinOps. Today, in a sustainability-focused world, the FinOps also becomes sustainability ops, right? If you haven't heard that term before, right, there was an article which was written by Adian Cockcroft out of AWS, where he called it DevSusOps, Development Sustainability Ops, saying that every developer today has to write a line of code with sustainability in mind, because if they don't do it right, you're burning more CPU cycles, you're consuming more storage, all of which is not contributing to your carbon footprint, to your energy footprint. So it is becoming very important, and we've been. I hope one day to be a part of SIT where I can talk more about that. Above that is your typical DevOps CI/CD pipeline. All the tools you need to test, validate, and build your code and scan your code and secure your code. Above that, as I mentioned, is your data pipeline. Your data pipeline will be very different for a developer's use cases, right? Where developer needs data very differently, right? That's where Delphix plays a massive role in your TDM. And Catherine today morning from Morgan Stanley talked extensively about how TDM fits into your DevOps pipeline. It's a integral part of your DevOps pipeline. But today, in an AI and ML-centric world, there is also the data pipeline which your data engineers need, which your data scientists need, which your AI folks need. And they have a very different set of curated use cases from your traditional application developers. And any data pipeline you build today, hopefully with Delphix, needs to have that under consideration so you manage that data properly and provide the right tools for your machine learning and AI data scientists. The left is all the security, right? I remember when I first got for the first time, started working at a bank, right? And I was talking to a friend of mine who had worked for a bank for several years. He's like, I said, what should I be careful of? He's like, no matter what security budget they give you, you need double, right? And we've discovered that no matter what, if anything, Log4j proved to us that we are not prepared to handle security properly. And today, being proactive about that and doing the proper scanning, securing your pipeline, securing your external tools, securing your data, all of that is very important because everything is today an attack vector. Everything is an attack surface where you don't know the next vector is going to come from. So platform security, how do you secure your platform, is very important. And in platform security, frankly, you have to think more about internal rogue actors than external. So what are the tenets of a platform? What does a platform look and feel like? Well, first and foremost, it needs to be self-service. If you have to open a ticket to get a VM, it's not a platform. If you open a ticket to do a deploy, it's not a platform. If your deployment fails and you open a ticket, fair enough. Second thing, and this is a big one, you need to give your developers permission to act. If you made a platform self-service, but the developers still need to open a ticket to get approval from 3 people before they can do something, what did you achieve? So the permission to act is very important. But the permission to act needs to come with guardrails so that you can ensure that the developers don't do anything which put them or your company or your system at risk, right? By the way, the data masking solution from Delphix is tremendous for that because it's a guardrail. Well, developers can't expose data if the data is masked. So don't give developers real data, give them masked data and ensure that's a guardrail already put in place. And last, it comes with an environment of trust. And that is the hardest part. In fact, you heard it today morning in one of the talks where they said the biggest, I think it was again the gentleman from Microsoft, the biggest change and the biggest impediment, biggest inertia you have to face when you're introducing new capabilities like this is cultural inertia. How do you build a culture of trust? If you have controls in place where people need to get checkoffs from 5 people, it's because something went wrong somewhere back in the day. And that trust was lost. And today, everybody now wants to add more and more controls. We as an industry are great at adding controls and horrible at removing controls. Building that environment of trust and letting the leadership know that it's okay. We have guardrails. Test the guardrails. Let somebody step out and raise all the alerts and alarms so you can show, wait a minute, if somebody steps out of line, right? You have the ability to detect it, prevent it, and if it does happen, control it. These are the 4 tenets, I believe, of building a true platform which gives your developers and empowers your developers to expose all the data. Because all that data is not worth much if it is locked in and not available for the developers to be able to use in the applications, the systems, and the AI tools they're building. Now, it's an ongoing journey. As I said, I've been at Dell only 7 months. We haven't built this platform yet. We're in the progress of building, right? We have what I today call atomic automation. That means automation is available in units. We need to make it seamless, composable pipelines, right? Like, so developers can go and have the entire pipeline available by pushing a button or really calling a bunch of APIs. You don't want them pushing a button. Developers don't like going to UIs and doing anything. They want an API call they can execute. Standardized tools and standardized process via a single pipeline is the goal. That doesn't mean a single tool. It means standardized tool. You can't have a single tool for every use case. Some tools work on mainframes and they don't work on distributed. Some tools work in the cloud and don't work on-prem. But the process and the way to access and use those tools should be standardized. Third, you have to have a way to measure productivity. This costs a lot. There's a lot of time and effort and money needed to build a platform. So that means we have to continuously be proving our ROI to the I hate to say bean counters, but the folks who are funding this to say, yes, this is adding value to the developers. So the first thing we did was we took a baseline and said, okay, what does developer productivity look like? And that immediately gets you into a religious war of what is developer productivity, right? I know I'm running out of time, At the end of the day, the goal is to drive a better developer experience, right? Now, I would be remiss to leave you all without telling you about that Dell also uses Delphix, right? We are a large Delphix customer, and one of my peer organizations which builds all our customer-facing applications, not the hardware, not the infrastructure management tools which I'm responsible for, but the customer-facing Dell.com, our portal, our Apex tool, they heavily use Delphix and have increased developer productivity significantly by integrating Delphix via the APIs into our application delivery lifecycle. So it's a very interesting and multifaceted relationship that we at Dell have with Delphix.